dugsiga boardingka iyo maalinlaha ah ee Amano Boarding and Day School.
Welcome to our video lesson. My name is Teacher Eric. I'll be taking you through revision. Remember, you have examinations this coming week, and it is important that you have to try and revise. Try to go through areas that we looked at before while we were still in class. Now, before we do anything else, remember, because you have an examination, it's important that you have to try and look at the timetable that's here on the screen. Your exam begins, well, on 6th, then ends on, actually it ends on 20th of June. Now, so here, as you can see, there's the first day you have English on Saturday, the 6th, then the following day you have revision, then you have social studies, revision. So it basically means that after each exam, you have a free day. That free day is not for you to sleep and rest and watch. No, it's time for you to revise. What are you revising for? You are revising for the following, the exam that's on the following day. And so, like, for example, here you have social on the 8th. So this means that on the previous day, you must have revised. You are supposed to have revised the social studies examination for you to get good marks. Now, I'll take you through what we are supposed to do today, and that is revision. And under revision, we shall be looking at chapters to be covered or revised. Remember, we are revising for cycle 2 exam. We did cycle 1, we gave you your results already. Now, we shall look at all those chapters, and from those chapters, your examination is going to be set from the same chapters. Nothing will be set from outside. It will be from within the context, from within everything that you've learned. And so the first chapter to begin with is the people of Africa. And under the people of Africa in class, if you remember the first term, the first week, we looked at the pre-Bantu people of Africa, people who occupied Africa even before the Bantu. Now, here we had the Zulu people, the Pygmies, Herero, and the Khoisan. And remember, Khoisan, we said that it was split into the Khoikhoi and the San, if you can remember that. And then we talked about the Pygmies and the Zulu and who their king was, King Shaka. So you can remember all those, then that means you are good to go. Now, also, we looked at reasons for the migration of people, things that make people to migrate, to move from one place to another, including war, overpopulation, drought, climate change. All those are reasons for the migration of people, or for the movement of people. But from one place to another, from one town to another, we had things like, you know, good healthcare, education system, and availability of jobs. All those also were some of the things that make people to move from one place to another. Population distribution in Africa, and under this we looked at countries that are highly populated and countries that are least populated. You know, if you look at countries that are highly populated, we looked at Nigeria, we looked at Ethiopia, Congo, and even Egypt. But for least populated countries, we looked at Seychelles, we looked at Equatorial Guinea, we looked at Djibouti, among others. Chapter 2, right, you know very well, every chapter 2 is the physical environment. Now here is the physical environment of Africa, and under physical environment of Africa, we looked at longitudes and latitudes. Longitudes, we said, are imaginary lines that run from north to south, while latitudes are imaginary lines that run from east to west. And we looked at major latitudes that cross Africa, right, including the actually the Arctic Circle, all of them actually that cross just the whole world. The Arctic Circle, remember, we looked at the Tropic of Cancer, we looked at Equator, we also looked at the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. All those major latitudes, we also looked at their degrees. For example, the Equator, we had 0 degrees, and the other one 23.5 north, that is the Tropic of Cancer, while the Arctic Circle, we had 66.5 degrees north. So that way, the same to those that are on the south, the same. So you have to try and master them. Then we looked at the physical features of Africa, including the mountain types of mountain. There were 4 types of mountain that we looked at. 4 types of mountains. We looked at block mountains, volcanic mountains, fold mountains, and residual mountains. So all those 4 types of mountains, we looked at them. You have to try and even get an example of each. The Rift Valley, how it was formed, where it runs from Turkey to Mozambique. Then the major rivers in Africa. In fact, look at the longest river in Africa as River Nile. We also had the other 4, the first 3 major rivers, starting with River Nile, River Congo, River Niger. We also had some other rivers like River Limpopo, River Zambezi. Okay, so River Senegal. All those rivers in Africa, they are major rivers, and they actually serve a great importance. Some of them, they help to provide water for irrigation, water for production of hydroelectric power, among others. Then we looked at water masses that surround Africa, water masses that surround Africa. Now, these water masses that surround Africa, we had them, if you can remember very well, we had Gulf of Aden, we had the Indian Ocean, we had Atlantic Ocean, Mediterranean Sea, and Antarctic Ocean. All of them are water masses that surround Africa. Does it ring any bells in your mind? Do you still remember them? Well, it's up to you, so you have to try and revise them. Then we also had main hot deserts of Africa, the Sahara, Kalahari, and Namib deserts. Those are the 3 main hot deserts of Africa. Desert features of Africa, we had the oases, Hamadas, the Chots, Regs, among other features. The Bashans, all those are the main features of hot deserts in Africa. Climate of Africa and factors that affect climate change. And these factors were mainly 4. We had altitude, latitude, we had winds, and proximity to the sea, or nearness to the sea or ocean, or just any large water body. We also had air pressure or atmospheric pressure, among others. Then there was also vegetation and vegetation types in Africa. These vegetation types, we had equatorial vegetation, we had tropical savanna, we had also the mangrove vegetation, we also had very many actually Mediterranean vegetation. So all those with their characteristics. Like for example, if you may be asked for you to list any characteristics of equatorial vegetation, you remember how we said that vegetation or the trees form a canopy or an umbrella shape at the top. We also said that trees are evergreen. Trees grow tall and closely packed together. So all these are characteristics of equatorial vegetation. We also looked at the arid and semi-arid vegetation. Now, we looked at also forces which change the shape of the earth, and these forces were actually including either the forces or the features or the phenomena that happen. So they include the earthquakes. Remember, we looked at the seismic waves that cause the earthquake, and a place where the earthquake originates is the epicenter of that earthquake. So we looked at the earthquakes and those waves that cause the earthquake, the primary waves and secondary waves. We also looked at volcanoes and types of volcanoes. We also looked at the 3 types of volcanoes, the active volcano, dormant volcano, and extinct volcano. So these 3 types of forces or features or happenings that change the shape of the earth will also include the floods. Whenever there's very heavy rains like the El Nino, we shall have floods all over, and therefore these floods will cause a lot of destruction on the surface of the earth. Chapter number 3, we have resources and economic activities. We looked at these resources. It was just but a revision of what we had done in the previous classes. There's also the economic activities like farming, the types of farming, all those types of farming, the modern farming, traditional farming, plantation farming, among others. We also looked at transportation and communication, just a revision of what had been done in previous classes. The types of, actually the forms of communication, traditional and modern. Transportation the same, traditional and modern. Then here we have political system of Africa and the 2 world wars. You remember them? The Egyptian civilization, we learned about that. We also looked at advantages of River Nile, e.g. the fishing, transportation, domestic use, and fertile soil. It provided fertile soil farming. We also looked at economic activities of ancient Egyptians. Then later on, we also looked at Mesopotamia civilization. What the meaning of Mesopotamia, land between two rivers, where this were now the river Tigris and the Euphrates. We also looked at communities that lived in Mesopotamia and factors that led to the decline of Mesopotamia kingdom, or Mesopotamia civilization rather. So lastly, as you can see here, the First World War, the opposing and even the causes of the First World War, the opposing sides of the First World War and Second World War. We had the Central Powers and the Allied Powers. We looked at them. So all those are areas from which examinations are going to be set. So as a student, it's now your role to try and revise, try and master. Look at the assignment that we wrote. I marked them and you have them in your books. As you read, you will realize that those questions are just actually very simple, the same thing that you've learned. Thank you for watching. Have a nice time. See you.